Hi, Sam, EDMT 907, Assignment 1, Pep Talk. Some students have talked to me recently, pitched some ideas for digital stories, and I just am aware that there's a common pitfall. And I think if some people are falling into the pit, chances are that others might be unwittingly too. So I thought I'd spend just a couple of minutes talking to you about my concern. And my concern is this: some of the digital story drafts or ideas that have been pitched to me have very heavily relied on the idea that this teacher is doing or saying the wrong thing. When they start doing or saying the right thing, the student becomes more able to learn, better engaged in school, better included. There's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that the whole purpose of sociology of education is not to lay blame with individuals. Okay, so we're not saying teachers are terrible humans and that all that they need to do is change their attitudes for things to be better. The point of sociology of education is that we look at patterns of educational inequity and educational disadvantage. And then we look at ways that teachers can operate within this obviously imperfect education system to help affect social change or to help remedy those patterns of disadvantage. And the point is to do this in using thinking tools that go beyond the learner. So not just to look at what the child can and can't do and the child's accomplishments or failings as a student, but to look at the child in a much broader sense as they are situated in society and as they are situated in your classroom as learners. Okay, so the villain of the virtual story should never be the teacher. The villain, if there is one, is the institution or the field of education and these rules of play that everyone agrees to that obviously don't work for everyone equally. Okay, so whilst teachers in and of themselves aren't necessarily the problem, they are very much an important part of the solution. So if you'd like an example of how to reframe the thinking about how you relate to students in sociological terms, a really good example is the Comer and Kamler article. So they start by identifying a sociological problem, not an interpersonal problem. They're not saying that Mark's a horrible teacher to Willem. They're saying, stuff it. What's this deal about all these kids internationally who come from low socioeconomic areas not doing as well in reading? That can't be right. It can't be that they're all stupid. It can't be that their teachers just don't care. You know, what's going on here? So the problem is a pattern of educational disadvantage for low SES students in literacy. That's the sociological issue. Okay? Then they bring in other sociological thinking tools for creative ways of getting at that problem in practice. So we come up with these ideas of virtual school bags and turnaround pedagogies. Now, Comer and Kamler at no point blame teachers. In fact, they use teachers and teachers' relationships and staff room relationships as funds of knowledge. They get mentors, people who've been teaching for ages, in on the conversation with these young teachers about trying to understand these students as well as they can and understand their school context as well as they can. And then with a bit of learning about sociological thinking, they help with all the pedagogical knowledge they always and ever have from all their other subjects at uni and all their other teaching experiences to look at this child in a different way. So instead of just saying, well, I'm struggling with reading, he's not a very good reader. You know, I've been through all these reading strategies and nothing's working. They're saying, well, let's look at Willem as a human in the wider world and society and see whether we can take some of his strengths and give them capital in the classroom so that he can purchase learning with them. He's really good at commentating. That's great. Let's do some genre around radio stuff. Let's give that kid a chance to record his voice and then listen back to it to write it down to help him through that initial stage of writing. So all of a sudden, the things that he's good at can buy him literacy learning in the classroom, in a classroom that wasn't set up that way before because we didn't know that that was a barrier, because we didn't look at it sociologically before now. So teachers in these stories should be the heroes, not the villains. And if you have any questions about that, or if you struggle with differentiating this idea of an interpersonal relationship that's not great, creating a disadvantage compared to patterns of disadvantage, please let me know. Otherwise, good luck with it, and I'll talk to you soon.